to yourself when you hit your ball. What's up? Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us here tonight. First Tier 1 Council Call of 2018. Our first one to kick off the year, and also our second ever live stream that we are broadcasting to all of those interested in the forward and positive momentum that MultiGP has been continuing here over the last couple of months. So we do have an agenda that we circulated from earlier last night. Of course, we threw that out to everyone, and of course, we do want as much participation as possible by our Tier 1 chapters. Last time we met was in mid-December, and that's where we kind of reported back on everything that we had collaborated on from the MultiGP executive team on the direction for the 2018 regional series at that point. And it was pretty much a one-way conversation, but we definitely want to do our best efforts here to get as many opinions and so forth moving forward on all of our items here moving forward in 2018. So our agenda, we are going to be talking about tonight's our regional series proposed border changes that we'd flashed a graphic in December, and it's in one of our preliminary releases. But tonight we'd like to get a little more feedback from our Tier 1 chapters on some of those lines and divisions. We'd like to talk about some of our thoughts, reasonings behind it, and some proposed solutions to move forward that we can discuss here tonight. We're also going to take a look at the 6 regional finals dates that we've proposed, and also the locations that we have earmarked and we're considering for collaboration here this evening. And also, I guess we'll open up the floor a little bit on any other topics that are top of mind. We'll also touch base on one of the more passionate topics of discussion, I think, in the history of MultiGP, about length of races for regional qualifiers and regional finals, national championships, and battery limitations. So we'll touch on that, just a little update on where we sit with that project. I know probably 90% of our Tier 1 chapters are just as abreast of it as we are, but we'll touch base on that tonight as well. And of course, open floor and anything else that we'd like to, that our Tier 1 chapters would like to get addressed. We have many members of our team with us here tonight that'll be tuned in, that will be contributing. We'll also talk. We're gonna introduce you once again formally to our core members of the executive team of MultiGP. And tonight, that position is, or that role, the responsibility is going to be on Chris Thomas, our CEO and founder, who I believe is with us, and he's going to commence tonight's Tier 1 chapter call, monthly call, and second ever live stream with a keynote address and introduction of our team, and go from there.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks everybody for tuning in to the first call of 2018. It's been a long road to get to the point to where we are, and here at MultiGP, we're all very excited about the upcoming 2018 season. I want to start by explaining briefly the vision that I have for our regional finals, some of the changes that you're looking at now when it comes to different borders and changes in the way that our regional finals are planning to work. Last year, in 2017, we had a tremendous turnout of pilots at our regional finals, but we ran into a problem as the season came near its end with regional finals. Some of the weekends had 3, 4, maybe 5 regional finals all ending on that same weekend. And despite the success of each individual event, they tended to stack on top of one another and take away from the overall excitement that we were hoping pilots could tune into, see, and follow when it comes to a race. We also struggled to find as good of a pitch to provide for both sponsors and for venues when the number of pilots participating in the races were 30 or less sometimes for these regional finals. So in 2018, it's my goal and vision here to see the regional finals be run as well as they were in previous years, with the primary difference being that they are larger events. Hopefully that would mean better sponsorship and better coverage of those events without them stacking on top of each other. So we'll talk about that later in this call, about some of the changes to the regions, which hopefully will result in some larger regional finals this year with more attention. I'd also like to go through and introduce the different team members today for MultiGP and what their roles are. I know that I run into different people in my quest of creating MultiGP, and they want to thank me for the work that I've done, but in reality, there are many people all contributing, not only on the corporate side, but also with all the chapter organizers. As far as those team members, we've got some new members you may or may not be aware of. Hopefully everybody who's on this call is aware of who I am and my role with the organization. Our president at MultiGP, David Roberts, should be here with us today. He is the president of MultiGP. So if you ever hear me mention, hey, David.
Hi.
If you hear mention of David, the president, that's who we're talking about, David Roberts.
I'm really looking forward to what we're going to accomplish. Just real quick, thank you, Chris. I'll just take a few seconds. We're really excited about what we're looking to accomplish here in 2018. We've worked really hard. After Reno, we just gathered and we've spent a lot of time behind the scenes saying, what can we do to make this a good year? And we have put together some amazing plans, and you're going to see some of what we're trying to do here tonight, and we want to hear back from you. And then from there going forward, we think we're going to have a pretty good year. So look forward to everybody's collaboration on this.
Thanks, David. Next up is going to be our vice president. That is Sean O'Sullivan, or as some of you may know him as Boss Hat. Are you here, Sean? It may be a little bit late for Sean this evening, but I'm sure if you have read our blog posts or seen many of the publications or articles written by MultiGP, chances are Sean either penned them himself or had something to do with the creation of that content. Next up, we have Hefty Puente, who is our Chief Brand Officer. If you have ever seen someone at MultiGP passionately chasing the way that our image and brand looks, that's going to be Hefty. All right. Next up, we have our Executive Vice President. Let's get some fancy names here. Of event production, and that is the illustrious Joe Scully, who also happens to be my best friend. Hey, Joe.
Hey, best friend.
Next up, we've got our EVP and a new member of the team for strategic partnerships all the way on the West Coast. It is Kelvin Lamb. I don't know if Kelvin's tuned in here to this call this evening. We've also got the EVP of Special Initiatives and Analytics. I just call him the social media guy. That is Daniel Ganell. Sounds like Daniel's out there. You're doing a good job, Hefty. We've also got our executive producer of MultiGP News. This is basically the horsepower behind the MultiGP News segment. That's Kalara Maynade. And someone who Kalara seems to know, who is an account rep and also a live stream personality, whatever that means, that's Frank Maynade, or as we know him, Realize. All right, so I wanted to make sure that this is not the entire team, but this is some of the team members you may not be aware of. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But feel free, if you have something that you want to talk about that you think may address an area of MultiGP that these people deal with, reach out to them. This is not the type of organization where you cannot communicate. We are here, we're available, we're working. I'm probably the hardest person right now to get a hold of, but there's many people working daily to try to achieve this 2018 season and grow the future of MultiGP and drone racing. So
hey, Chris, if I could interrupt real quick, we left out somebody really important to everybody here, and that's Shannon Broussard. He's our Vice President of Chapter Relations. So just wanted to throw a shout out to him as well.
Hey, Shannon. Sorry about that. I'm sure we've got, we could go on for hours and hours naming everyone who's contributed or is contributing to MultiGP in this community. It's one of the things that I love the most about it. Everybody has had a chance to make their mark with this, and it's going to continue as time goes on. So let's transition over to one of the main topics that we want to talk about. I'm going to pass this over to you, to Joe. Let's talk about the regional borders and the changes that we're looking at making for 2018, because I know that it will affect many of the chapter organizers, and this is something that's important. We want to make sure that it's discussed. You understand why we're doing this, the reasoning behind it, and we want to hear what you have to say. Mr. Scully, you out there?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. So I believe you should see my screen. So originally we had an issue when we sliced and diced everything up into the 6 different northwest, southwest, north central, south central, southeast, northeast. We had an issue with the tri-state area, predominantly those being Iowa, Ohio, and Kentucky. And previously, the tri-state area was split, and the feedback we received was that we wanted to keep that area together. Therefore, we're going to propose that we move those 2 states or 3 states into the north central region. So we go from one map into this one. I think that's the one I just had. So geography, not my strong point, but there we go. So that is, I'm going to flip back and forth. So first, the tri-state, the circle in the middle-ish, Iowa, Ohio, and Kentucky, we are going to merge those into the north central region. The second item that came up in our discussion when we're talking about the different regions, I'm going to see if I can zoom in here. And one of them, I was actually, when we were discussing it, I was actually sitting at the airport right on the line, the state line. That's the Kansas and Missouri, as they say in Missouri, the Missouri border, where Kansas City, there's Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. They're bordering right on a state line, and it's going to depend on where people are going to go, as we have it circled right there. So we proposed a region border that caused Kansas and Missouri to not fall within the same region, and the feedback was that pilots would not like that. So we are, I think we're going to leave that the way it is on that map. As I show, we go back to our final proposed map. There's really no changes there. However, the biggest thing, the most important thing that we feel that is going to solve all this slicing and dicing of different regions, northwest, southwest, northeast, the Kansas City situation, is that every pilot, regardless of what state that they live in, at the start of the series, they can declare which one is their region. So everyone has to declare one region, that's their region. And technically, I mean, they don't have to live in that region. That's going to be the one that they are going to compete in. That was one of the things that came back from our tier 1 discussions, out of our survey as well. We wanted to avoid the region jumping. So for those people that are in bordering regions, then they just pick one. They don't get to cherry pick two regions, and we think that's going to solve the map issue. That we're not going to have to spend any time on slicing and dicing different city lines over state lines and so forth. Is there any questions or comments on the region borders issue or matter?
Hey Joe, this is Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Numbers as far as population in those regions. A MultiGP member population.
Yeah. The roads that we were going to go down, but the way that we sliced and diced it up was really on individual pilots' travel time. So there may be more pilots in the South Central region, but it's, an equal space as the Northwest. So if we were to make one region much larger than the other, that means there could be 8 hours of commuting to get to a regional championship, because the regional finals are supposed to be in the center, as close to center or easy accessible in those regions. So for 2018, we geographically sliced and diced it based on travel time. And I think with allowing pilots to choose their region, if they feel that, they are in a region like South Central that has too many pilots and they want to go compete in the Southeast where they feel there's less pilots per capita, as long as they declare that at the start of the series, then they're more than welcome to do so. Does that answer your question, Michael? Thumbs up. As with everything, I know we had some talks about spec class, and spec class was not my pet project, but it's one that our entire team is very familiar with, the ins and the outs. And I think just with the regional series is it's not a cop out. We're like, hey, we're going to try it this way this year. We looked at all the different options. We felt this is the best one, but just like anything else, we're going to do surveys and get all the feedback for 2019, and maybe it is per capita next year. We are, of course, doing the website, the ongoing website and race sync upgrade. So we are collecting more data, and in anything, data is key. And so we'll make some decisions and recommendations after we see how this 2018 season goes. Any other questions on the region borders? So I think, John, the idea is, if you're in Ohio, which you are, and you want to compete in the Northeast, just declare that, and you can go compete in those regions. So everyone knows I'm Canadian, and my Canadian geography is actually worse than my American geography. But looking at the map here, Ohio, if you want to go into Massachusetts and New York, and what else is over there? Pennsylvania. If you want to do that, you just claim that as your region. We're going to see lots of people that are on the edge, like, Ohio on the east side of the North Central region, and their central finals looks to be like, way over Minnesota way. So it would maybe in the north, if you're in Ohio, the central part of the Northeast is going to work out better for you than declare the Northeast as your region and go compete that way. Not that this was part of our process, but declaring the circuit or the region is something that I'm very familiar with my rodeo background, and I have two regions where I am, and that's basically what we call the North Central and the Northeast, and I know lots of people from New York that are part of the Central, which is the Great Lakes. They spend more time in Michigan than New York, and vice versa. So by putting it on the pilots and allowing them to make that decision at the start of the year, no flip-flopping back and forth, then they're basically making their own regions. And back to Michael's point of based on population, we're just kind of imagining that people are going to go where it's best for them. Most likely that's going to be within their travel circle and radius, and basically create whatever region is going to suit best for them. That is a very good question. I think. All right, buddy. Let me think. You got me back now, and now I can see the chat. Even though you're doing a great job reading that off to us, Hefty. To the best of my knowledge, the whole regions and so forth were pretty in stone on that. I don't unless someone has come up with a reason that we feel paramount to change that map. It's about the fourth rendition of the map, and again, because pilots select their region, we think that's going to we're pretty solid with that map. Unless someone comes up with a compelling reason, obviously, we'll go back to the drawing board. Let's go to. Do we want to move to the next topic then, Hefty? Is what I was getting from that comment. Proposed regional finals dates and location. And what I can do is I can actually pop up my screen share again if that helps. I'm sure it will. And this is obviously a work in progress. What you should see on your screen, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. We are powered by Google Documents. Let's see here. I'm trying my best. Now I should be able to zoom here. Let me control plus. Oh yeah. There we go. So hopefully everyone can see the text better. Is that better? I see Michael Wyatt on my other screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can read that, Michael. There we are. Perfect. Thank you. This is all for you tonight. So the 6 regions are there. We also listed the International Open. As many people are aware, International Open is one of the new crown jewels of the MultiGP season, and we are so we wanted to designate it right in the middle of our calendar and ensure that we didn't have any conflicting dates with it. So obviously we are familiar with the different climates, and so when we put together the schedule, climates was a big part of it. I had the privilege of going to the Texas and Oklahoma regional championship, the 4B or 4A or whatever it was, in July. That was a terrible time to do it. So we're going to do that in June this year. And obviously with the North, we're very familiar with the weather patterns up here. So we have decided to kick off our first regional final in the South Central, which would be Dallas, June 9 and 10. And so climate is a big part of it. Also, because we are sending a team from our MultiGP executive team to enhance our local team. We're still working with local chapters, tier 1 chapters on our regional finals. But we want to ensure that we're not swamping our team on travel. So we want to space everything out a little bit. So we take about a 2.5 week break, and then we will go to the end of June, July 1st, which is the Northwest in Seattle. After that, we take another 3-week break, and we go Southwest in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, mid-July. It's always good weather in Las Vegas. Then, of course, we talked about International Open. We are leaving that on the schedule, and we don't want to put anything around it. So we have a 3-week window into International Open, and then about a 3-week window into our next regional final, which is up in the Northeast, New Jersey, first weekend of September, which is, I think, a great weekend weather-wise for the Northeast. And then we will go later September, North Central in Cincinnati. And then in October, our last regional final would be in the Southeast. Our cities, we've had a lot of initial discussions with our tier 1 chapters. We did the old put a pin in the middle of the map. So trying to find a central location for each region, and a tier 1 chapter that we've worked with that in the past, or that would like to partner with us on one of our 6 regional finals. So the one in the south central would be in Dallas. The one in the northwest would be in Seattle. The one in the southwest, Las Vegas. Then over to New Jersey with our friends at Safety Third. Then central, Cincinnati, working with the drone racing team, and then October 13th, 14th in Atlanta. Any questions or comments on our proposed schedule and locations? Hey, Micah.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Wonderful. I thought the June 30 to July 1st for the Northwest region is a little early. Just we can't really reliably plan events until at least after July 4th. Like there's been like a 30+% chance of rain on July 4th historically for like 50 years. So yeah, and that goes all the way to like, August. But yeah, we have a good month. Yeah. Historically, mid-July, like last year's was mid-July, and while that's early and it doesn't give us a lot of I guess stick time, which is the controversial argument that we could have, I guess, but is our qualifier is going to have to be way before that. So I guess
yeah, Mike, we'll make a note of that, and maybe what we'll try to do is push it a little bit further into July, maybe the following weekend, and see what it'll do to upset our dates. But we'd like to reach out to you probably tomorrow, Hefty and I. And
please, yeah, I can. We can loop in Mark Kenworthy and Brett Wilson and all them, and their other tier 1 Northwest chapters, and we can talk about it.
Great. Yeah, we have a conversation going with you guys. We truly appreciate it. So we will look to move it around there, but we're kind of pumped to come to Seattle. You guys made a good case for going there, and we're going to have a great time. So we'll get the date right, and we just need to make sure you guys work on the weather.
All right. Kick ass. I'll do what I can.
Excellent.
Hey, Joe, while I have a minute here, also, some of the guys have been pointing to me and it's been suggested that we make sure that now that we're talking, we've released the dates, that we're going to want to talk to each of you chapters in Dallas, Seattle, Las Vegas, New Jersey, Cincinnati, and Atlanta about finding some great venues. It may be your own backyard, but let's now begin a conversation. If David at MultiGP, that's my email address, David at MultiGP, let's start talking about where a great venue would be for your event there. So do reach out to me, please.
So David, a question that came up here. So the Southeast is in Atlanta. When would Nationals be and where? I know we haven't really mentioned on that, but did you want to touch on that now?
I guess you want to talk about that, Hefty? We've gone back and forth. We've actually... It's going to be a nice place.
But we can say November-ish, right?
Yeah, it's going to be. It'll be real late November.
Yeah.
If not early December. The way that we went at this for everybody to understand is that we said, okay, when would Nationals be, or when the championship be? And then we backed up. I think it was 5 weeks, and so that's enough time for everybody to gear up. And then we backed up 3 weeks, and so we just kept backing up 3 weeks to give ourselves as a team enough room to be able to get the equipment there, get us there, and work the logistics of this. So we're able to move it around. You can see we've moved around. This is maybe our 3rd iteration. And I'm going to go with the team here and say we'll tell you where nationals will be over in the next couple of weeks. I get
question was Lundy. That wasn't me. That wasn't me trolling. That was Lundy's question. So I'm just getting caught up.
It's all fair. It's all good.
Okay, so another question that came in: when will the regional qualifier track be released? So that is probably, I'm going to say, within a month. Hefty, would you agree with that? There is a team in our regional qualifier track room, and they've had a couple meetings, and that track should be coming out in the next 4 weeks, they've told us. A team of track designers. Canna Marie says, would it make more sense to swap Vegas with Micah's region? That is something we made a note of. A couple suggestions to shuffle some stuff around.
All right. Just asking the question. I mean, I'm looking at the map for North Central, and I understand Ohio being added into North Central, which makes sense since the guys race together. How is Cincinnati central to the North Central region when you got guys up in the Dakotas and Nebraska and whatnot that are much farther away? I mean, I just punched it in on Google Maps. I'm looking like a 9-hour drive from Kansas City. I don't really see that as central at all. I know that with the Kansas City guys, at least, some of us would be discouraged from a 9-hour drive when that's not central at all for our region, at least geographically.
That David, do you have a comment on that?
That's just where they claim a different region at the beginning of the season. That's all he has to do is claim the region that he wants to fly in.
Well, the question was Cincinnati isn't central to the North Central region.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you guys claimed, right? Was central would be where the regional finals are. You just added Ohio, which would be the furthest east you can go in our region, and you're going to put a regional final there.
Is it something that we'll take a look at?
Yeah, I think it's something we're going to take a look at. Maybe we had a good case for being in Cincinnati. We have some good leadership and a good chapter there, and if you're right, it is far to the east of it. Actually, it's if you look at the North Central, it's actually in a rather central spot, though south of within that region. It's a distance. If we can talk about it, we'll roll it around, and we may come back and say Cincinnati actually is a real good spot, but we're going to toss it around. Maybe we end up in Chicago. It looks like another more central spot. Yeah, I understand that what we're trying to do is have a big event that's central to your region, not break it up into smaller events, but one big one. And so it is an ask for some of you folks, for all of us. And what we're trying to do is take a view of equal pain to a certain extent, and maybe that's not quite there with that. So we'll look at it.
Just bringing it to your attention, I mean, that's going to discourage people from wanting to do that, since that's, I mean, looking at the west side of North Central, that is quite a haul, whether that's a drive taken off of work or flight time or what have you. I mean, it's a big ask.
Remember, there's hardly no choppers in the Dakotas. They're all on the east side of the line, almost in the next state.
Okay. That data isn't exposed to everyone, so I'm just going off of geography.
Well, definitely something that we can take a look at. Again, these dates and locations are penciled in. We're taking it one step at a time. And I believe everyone can still see my screen. So if geography isn't your strong point, I've put the arrow right about where Cincinnati is, right about the middle of that circle. we're talking about the North Central region, but something that we'll definitely take under consideration. And that's on that. Let's go to my chat window. Any other questions or feedback on final dates and locations?
Yes, sir. Ryan Wallace, APD, Colorado.
Ryan Wallace.
Last year we had our first Colorado regional qualifier in May. It was about 30 degrees, snowing, and extremely muddy. That is 1 month before our proposed June 9th through 10th qualifier and our final in Dallas. If we hold qualifiers earlier than that, we are definitely going to be in very poor weather conditions.
Colorado.
It's also a 12-hour drive, as referenced to the previous question, of 8 hours for the other region. It's actually 12 hours, 20 minutes for Colorado members to Dallas, and I'm sure similar for others. The location is very not central to South Central.
Dallas is kind of near the Panhandle, isn't it?
No.
No.
It's probably middle of Texas towards the east.
Up a little bit, Joe. Up a little bit.
Thank you. All right. So another.
Well, yeah, clearly what we're saying here is that the early June for Colorado and Texas is going to be a little bit difficult. We were trying to work with the heat in Texas, thinking that actually the last two regionals that we've had in Dallas have been really well managed. The folks there did a really great job, and we thought we're going to come back and with that because it'll be a good place. And maybe we need to move that a little further, the Dallas further into the schedule.
I would propose that you move Atlanta to early in the schedule unless there's a problem with rain there, because and then you move the northern states, to the late, like the September for Ohio is, for North Central is good.
Thank you, Paul.
What's up, Chef PV?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, great job. I think the format here, by the way, of putting us kind of in the mix. Thank you. I just wanted to say to the other organizers, totally understand that everybody's going to have some issues with weather and dates. I think everybody is going to be able to make that up and figure that out. I think if you all just communicate, we'll be able to figure that out. As far as the drives, I totally understand being passionate about people deep within the different areas, but think about how many people are going to make it to the finals. And so maybe speak to those numbers and reiterate that we're talking about, 60 to 120 people from these giant areas. So how many people are really going to make it to that final that we're worried about them getting there? I think that might help subside some of the issue.
Yeah, so thanks, Troy. The whole design and layout of the 2018 regional series to encourage more participation at the local level, which allows every single individual chapter to host a qualifier. And in every region, that information goes against the whole, so that we will look at the top 100 in all 6 of our regions to go to the regional final. So if you're on the cusp of that list, if you're on the cusp of the list and you've just went to one qualifier, well, you just keep going to the next closest chapter, and that was one of our biggest benefits for designing it such as we have for the qualifying for the regional finals. And then, as Troy said, how many pilots will be going to the regional finals? It's 100 pilots from that entire region or adjacent region, and they identified that as their region. So it's 100 pilots. The idea from this is from our feedback from us hosting and being at some of those regional finals in 2016 and 17, to all the feedback that we got over the course of the debrief on 2017. We had a ton of regional finals, 14 of them, of 35 pilots, all these smaller events to get to the big event, the nationals. And so we want to reverse it this year and have every one of our regional finals be a massive, exciting event. You know, next week we're in Sebring with 100 pilots, and that's going to kick off our year. We're excited, you know, big race. Well, we want to host 6 big races as part of this. So, you know, we want 100 pilots from a big area, and unfortunately there is going to be travel. I mean, but that's just, it's the nature of the beast. So
yeah. One more quick little suggestion, and this is the only criticism I have of the schedule, is I do think it's really deep. And I think some of these timing issues and dates could be solved if we compressed it just slightly. I know you guys built in 3-week windows to be able to like probably, you know, account for date changes and stuff. Maybe 2.5 weeks, maybe 2.25 weeks, whatever the calculation to compress it and maybe push it further down. That might help us actually like be able to accomplish it all with the weather. Because I even know, even Dallas being in June, I mean, I won't complain about it, but that is technically early because we can't get going until March, April, you know, May. Sometimes with the weather too, it gets really funky here and crazy. So I mean, everybody's gonna have weather issues. So if we compressed it and made it further down, it might help. But anyways, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
And I think we got a ton of great feedback, and I think it's hey, you guys are going in the right direction, but let's go back to the drawing board on this. So I think we can confidently move on and put it to our team. Not only do we have the International Open that we're focused on scheduling around, we're also working on a partnership, MultiGP and Adrenaline and Light Tracks on that big series. And so we do want to make sure that we don't have overlaps with their tour. I mean, it's not the predominant reason the schedule is as such, but looking at the feedback from here, I think we need to do a little bit of shuffling around. So version 2.0. And moving it up to Atlanta too is another good fix for the heat for the Southeast, because Atlanta has like amazing weather. Other than the one weekend I went there this year and it snowed. I think
sorry about that. We didn't plan it out at all for you, Joe. But next time it's going to be beautiful.
Thanks for making me feel at home. So, David, do you think we can say we'll come back with some adjustments for some additional feedback from our tier ones? You're cool with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can come back. We want to nail this down as soon as possible, and we got some good feedback, and we're going to try and probably pound this out tomorrow morning. I see a few of us getting together and saying what's a logical thing, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll roll it back out, and probably with a pretty solid plan. But thanks for your feedback.
And if anything, no one complained about the dates of the International Open, so that's a win. It's 1 out of 7. So nowhere to go but up.
It's official. The International Open is going to happen.
A couple more questions that have come in. So Tom Buckley, up in the Northeast region, wants to know what materials will be required for regional qualifying course. Please, more than 5 gates. We haven't finished. Our team in the regional finals course room haven't come out with their presentation like Moses to the top of the mountain with the stone saying, here are the commandments. They haven't presented us the course yet, but we do know that it is going to be more than a standardized UTT, 5 gates, but it won't be out of the question either, because we want to ensure that tier 3, 2, and 1 chapters can host an event. But I can tell you, for certain, it's more than 5 gates. I can tell you for certain that.
Is this qualifiers or finals?
So that'll be for the regional qualifiers, what you'll host to qualify as part of the top 100 to your regional final.
So we're actually designing a course for qualifiers this year instead of last year, which was every chapter designed their own?
Right. So our regional finals is standardized. So the qualifiers for the regional finals are standardized. It's a standardized course, and kind of like the UTT, but it's going to be something different, and upwards of 10 gates and 10 flags. One of the things that we really like about that is same as when the 2016 regional series, when we had those regional qualifiers and we had X amount of gates per course, it took more than one chapter to host a race. So by sticking with, for our regional finals qualifying courses, the 10 gates, 10 flags, then it'll also encourage some participation and collaboration between local chapters.
Joe, I had a question about, I guess, regionals. Each region, is there going to be a main person to contact to decide how many, if you're wanting to host a qualifier, not all chapters are probably going to do it in a region, but if you're wanting to, do you have a point of contact for that? Are we going to maybe nominate the tier 1 chapter that's hosting the finals as the contact person for qualifiers? Does that?
To the best of my knowledge, and Hefty will correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't a limit. There's just a date cutoff. So if there's 30 chapters within the region, there could be upwards of 30 regional qualifiers within that region. If there's only 25, there's a maximum of 25. Well, if only 10 participate, there would be only 10 regional qualifiers.
Well, I guess to divvy up the people who qualify to go to the finals.
So it's on the 100. So all those times, because it's a timed course, all those times get submitted, and the top 100 times go to the regional finals.
10-4.
We tried to, at the direction of everyone, make it more simple. So you set up the regional qualification course, you get submitted on the 100 list for your region, and then you go to your regional finals from there. And then it gets somewhat confusing, as we'll take everyone from the 6 regions to the 150 at nationals. One of the other things that I believe we touched on in our December call, and I just want to kind of bring attention to it here, because International Open is the solid date on the schedule, the one that is least likely to move. August 8 and 14 is we do have those additional qualification spots that we'll be giving out. So at International Open, X amount of pilots will actually earn their way to nationals. So there are some additional ways to qualify for the national championships, aside from going through the regional qualifier, regional finals route. Off the top of my head, I think there were 6 events, Hefty, off the top of my head.
There's another sleeper one, and that will be if we end up going to Oshkosh. I believe that will be a wild card spot also for qualifying for the championship. But correct me if I'm wrong, Hefty and Joe.
I think that one is one of the 6. So Oshkosh, Sebring, International Open, something else. Oh.
Oops.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So I'm just gonna clear out all these comments, make sure that we've addressed everyone's questions.
I'd rather see the map.
You like the map? Hey now. So Never mind. Can I ask a question? You rock. New location. Gate materials. Weather. Talking about football. Ooh.
We will absolutely look at the situation there. We're looking to work with the Fifth Third people, Frank and company, and they put on some great events. You know, as a 107 pilot and as responsible MultiGP team members, we're going to definitely take a look at that, and we'll make sure we get clearance for anything we're going to do there. Oh yeah, more
Sweet.
exemptions.
The only other comments that I see that we didn't really address, and they addressed them by themselves. That's Byron Thurston and Ryan Wallace. They want to know about the top 100 to the regional finals, and 100 best 3 of 5. Correct. That's in our document. So we will take qualification times from the regional qualifiers, best 3 of 5 rounds to make it to the championships. That's all in the national document and also in the release that we put out in December. Also in that release that we put out in December, I'm going to segue into our next topic here, number 4, and that is everyone's favorite topic, at least for the last week and a half. That is race durations and lipo limits. So that was in our release. We had released after our Tier 1 conference that we would be remaining with 4S as our limit per the survey, and that was released. And then we made some more additions as we were finalizing the regional series documents in the beginning of January. Said, well, we're going to go with 90-second races to accommodate SAG and everything else that has been discussed ad nauseum over the last week and a half. And obviously a lot of different opinions, a lot of people being vocal, and so we try and have our fingers on the pulse of what's going on, and obviously it warranted another look, and we are in the process of a survey to decide what the MultiGP membership of populace of pilots would like to see for time limits and lipo limits. With that, so we've crossed off what we proposed, and we have a poll that's out there with a number of different options that take into play race durations, take into play the lipo limits or non-imposed limits, and how they all affect each other. That poll we plan on running till Thursday, which is a day and a half from now. We will close the poll, and then our team of regional finals rule makers will convene in the regional series boardroom and decide what that data tells us. Right now, we're not sure. It is really close. Last couple of checks, at one point there was a difference of 6 votes out of over 850. So this was like a week ago. The difference between 4S 2 minutes and no limit 2 minutes. That's a difference of 6 votes. Like, the percentage of that is 0.08-ish. So really too close to call. We're going to look at that data, and as much as we're kind of, it sounds like we're joking, we may do another poll. We don't know. We're going to take a look at that survey and then make the best informed decision on whether we have concrete feedback from everyone what the lipo limits and time limits will be, or if we can refine that laundry list of options that we threw out there, and if we need some further refining. So I would say next week, Monday-ish, the official results as they were will be released, and at that time too, we'll have had the weekend to decide on what the next steps will be in terms of moving forward with time durations and battery limits or non-limits. While we're doing that, we have Ryan Wallace raised his hand. He wanted to say something. So Ryan, if you can unmute yourself.
That was already addressed with the South Central qualifying for Colorado.
Oh, okay, perfect. I can clear that. So the one comment that I see popping up in the chat here from Byron Thurston, wasn't 4S already decided previously? It was, but there was the duration, the SAG issue, and so we made a decision that would affect someone's vote. Like people wouldn't have voted for 4S if they knew that the time limit would go down to 90 seconds. I mean, we didn't have all the information in front of us to give out, so we want to do the right thing. I mean, in a perfect world, not everyone will be happy, but we will spend as much time as possible. We argue a lot before it even gets to a public poll stage. That's a thing that we least like the most, is a Facebook poll or a Survey Monkey poll. But we want to make sure it's right. I mean, we don't have dogs in these races when it comes to setting limits and times. Like, to us, like, race directors and people running the regional series and acquiring sponsorship and trying to grow drone racing from a grassroots level or at a national level, we don't care if it's 90 seconds or 2 minutes. And you'd probably be hard-fetched to get an opinion on whether 4S or no limit. I mean, we just want it to be the best for the whole. Our goals, same as with any other rule change, is to encourage participation, especially at the grassroots level, like those regional qualifiers. Every chapter can host one. We want every one of our 25,000 registered pilots to participate in some rhyme or reason in the regional series, even if they're not in America. Build the course in Lithuania and see where you rank against us. Treat it like an international UTT. We want people to participate in it, and so we don't want people saying, well, if I can't run 3S, then I'm out, or I can't run 5S, or I'm out, or if it's only 90 seconds, I already don't think I fly enough, I'm out. We don't want anyone to be out. So even though we had a vote, it's different criteria, and so we went back to the drawing board. Seeing lots of things in our chat that we've seen in our survey responses and in emails about larger capacity batteries and prop limits, and we. One of the things that we have found that has been the strength, like, to get us to this point, 4S 2 minutes keeps it simple. 6-inch props. It keeps it simple. Events, like, instead of, now we understand chapters host their own events, and we love all these unique formats. Like, we would love to see people running 5S only races at their local chapters, and so we can follow it and see. We watch all those YouTube videos after the event, like, but we have to look at the national level and make the right decision for the entire whole. So we want to keep it simple. We can't have 19 classes. That was one of the things that comes up. Well, why don't you just run 2 classes? Well, we need one national champion. That's what we're going for. So we need one standard for 2018. And I don't want to flog a horse over and over again here, but we want to make sure that everyone has, within MultiGP, gets a chance to exercise their vote and their opinion. And we want to make sure that when they vote, it's for the right thing, the right reason, not confusing.
And just to reiterate, the rule change is only for the regional series. It's not for your everyday chapter race on a Wednesday or something, or Saturday.
Exactly. That's another big point. There's so many points that we're trying to float out there over the course of the discussion, and we were trying to encourage healthy discussion on this, that this is only for regional qualifiers, regional finals, the national championships. International Open most likely will be different parameters, and then local chapter races. There'll be 5S. There's some that run intermediate and sportsman and pro. All the they can divvy their people up, and that creates a great race program for them. They can do whatever they want. I mean, they can follow this rule if they want or not. For local, we don't want to stunt the growth or stop technological advances, but we're just focusing on the regional series, and basically, as long as it's to the rest of our safety rules and it makes sense for your chapter, like all local chapters can do whatever format they want, and we welcome that. Here's a comment. Any thought to the fact that public polls are affected by people who shouldn't be voting? Samples should be from people who have participated in a regional final IMO. Yeah, interesting. We have made sure that every vote is accurate. We've been able to catch some spam voting and so forth. One of the other things too that we did is originally when we talked about whether it be 4S or no limit for 2018 in the original survey in October and November of 2017, is we sent it out in different runs. Like we sent it out to just the tier 1 chapters. We try and start everything with the people that are participating in this call on this end, even though we are live streaming elsewhere. We like to start there, get their feedback, but they're the ones who are running the races, not always flying the races. Then what about your people that are at the nationals? So, we sent the survey out to just people that went to Reno, but they're not our entire core either. We have our core event runners, we have our core pilots, our award-winning pilots, but that's 150 pilots of 25,000. The people that we want to go to those regional qualifiers, the grassroots events. So we put the survey out to them as well. And when it came to the 4S and Open, there was, like, we're not talking 5% change between tier 1 chapter organizers to national qualifiers to just standard pilots. Not that there's a just, but 25,000 pilots. That survey data, there was no margin. You'd think there would be, especially when you see some of the names that have been lobbying for certain votes, which is more than welcome. It's politics. It's a free country, but you'd think it'd be the percentages would be higher one way or the other. But we released that. It was straight down the line. And I love the no opinion either. We have people that want to see 5S. Some people want to see 4S. Some people want to see 90 seconds. Some people want to see 5-minute races. Some people say just leave it the way it is. I love the non-opinion. Something from the chat here, too much jumping around. You all said 4S, just stick to it. 2-minute has been set for years. Why change now? Well, 2015, we were running 3-minute races. I think then we went to 2.5 minutes. Then we went to 2. We've been 2 for a while. And again, the reason why we looked at 90 seconds is because of the SAG and, looking at the major races, like just looking at the races in the last 4 months, like the Mega Drone X. Look at Reno. Look at your own national or regional qualifier. How many pilots did the full 888 or 666, the full pull, the 18 laps, your best 3 of 5? There was only about 9 pilots that got the 6 lap in to begin with. There was only 2 that did the perfect 666. But think back to your final. How many pilots gone on to lap number 6 and puffed out? A ton, like a ton. And people are saying, oh, it's their build and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it was a ton of people that just they couldn't get it. They flew. There wasn't enough in the pack. And then I look at every race, whether we're doing fastest 3 consecutive or we're doing time lapse, like people that are flying full throttle, and even these are the pilots you see on television. They know how to fly. They're trying to time it out to come back with 0, but we don't want to see. The reason we were thinking shorter races is we don't want it to be last one standing, last one flying. We don't want to go back to 2015. We want to make sure that everyone finishes the race or doesn't finish the race for the right reason. And again, if you look to our polls, if you look to all the comments and feedback since we've put this back out, if you go to our original poll, there's a lot of people with different opinions. Like, there is no cut and dried answer. So that's why, sadly, we're spending more time on this. It's going out to a poll, and but at least it'll be definitive. Yeah.
I would say that the big change came that nobody knew that 90 seconds was going to come. And so when 90 seconds came, a lot of people were kind of surprised, and therefore a lot of people were upset. I think if we stick with 4S, I think 90 seconds is a great choice, but people didn't have that option or didn't know that was a possibility that it's coming in the future. So that is the reason, I think.
Exactly. And that's why we did an about face and said, okay, let's, put every option out there. Now, where it gets confusing at, about 5 days ago when we got an update on the survey, and the survey response to just this 4S no limit 2 minute 90-second question far supersedes the survey data that we collected in October, November. Like, so yeah, there was people more that care more about this than dividing up regions and having less regional finals. Like, we've spent a lot of time revamping the regional series. Less people cared about that than this 4S, 5S, 90 seconds, 2 minute question. So, yeah, with looking at that data though, we put it out there, the 90 seconds, like, do you do 90 seconds or do you just do a fast lap? So, take battery out of the equation. Well, if you do fast lap, it's not the same thing. So then do you do fastest 3 consecutive? So we try to put all these options in there, but if you slice and dice it down the middle first, 4S, there's more answers in the survey for 4S than 6S. So if you're just like, where did the vote go? It's more on the 4S side, at least 5 days ago. But then when you go 4S 2 minutes, 5S 2 minutes, 5S 2 minutes led by 6 votes, 4S 2 minutes was second by 6 votes, and then all those other options. So there's a lot of data to look at. Yeah. And then he releases a video, says, doesn't matter, I'm going to build so it comes out with zero ma left no matter what. But yeah, I mean, the cool thing that I saw out of the survey, the comments, is people are saying we need to see longer races, and I agree. I think that would be moving in the right direction, and we're not gonna really do that sticking where we are. We have to go to an open limit if we're gonna go. Everyone, and I mean, full fast racing. So I mean, there's that poll is out, and then next week, so I believe what's at the 22nd ish, the results will be out, and hopefully the next steps, and that link we've shared everywhere. So make sure that you get everyone within your circle of drone racing to vote on that, because we want everyone to be happy, and we don't want anyone walking away saying that's not what I wanted. I don't want to race.
I just want to mention Brian is more than welcome to come down to 901 FPV because we're doing 6S class this year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, sweet. When I hosted my first series, I had like 5 different classes. I had a 250 spec, I had a 3S, I had I can't even remember them all, and it was fun. I mean, one of the other things that this is really leading towards is spec racing. Like, if you look at all of our conversations on this, on this one topic, it's all leading to, limits of this, limits of that, which is spec racing, which.
Good to hear.
I think Mike raised his hand, or is that an old notification?
You can unmute anytime.
All right. Yeah, I
There he
thought
is.
the restriction on unmuting was back in place. So, I guess my question is, are there any other gotchas or changes in the rules, just in case someone leaks or has a question in my chapter? Like, that's unfortunate.
Joe Scully is no longer allowed to announce.
I made that rule.
Like launching perpendicular to the Earth, or not perpendicular, parallel to the Earth, things like that. There's not going to be anything like last year when we got people pushing back.
No, to the best of our knowledge, like, we may have done a few little tweaks, and as Hefty said, the nationality clause is the latest thing that we've been battling around, but there's nothing else in our targets. So we originally thought beginning of January we're releasing the rules and we're ready to roll, and then obviously this 4S no limit thing came up. The nationality thing, everything else, to the best of our knowledge, we've released, and so there's no other changes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions or feedback here for tonight?
One thing I'd like to say, if you're going to try 6S this year and MultiGP doesn't go to 6S, try 6S, but do it with 3-minute heats. I think it's going to be fun. I think 3-minute heats is going to be awesome. It'll keep people. They'll have to go to a 6S low KV option, and it'll make it more fun. And they'll actually be competitive with a lot of 4S people too, for at least 2 minutes. That last minute might throw it off, but it's an option. Just try it out. I think it'll be fun. That's what we're doing, and I think it's going to be a good time.
Sweet.
Joe, I'd like to go ahead and take a minute, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys, this is Sean O'Sullivan. I just want to speak up real fast and let everyone know that one thing that the last week has definitely proven to us is the passion of our community. One thing that we all have in common is that we're very passionate about this sport. From the pilot to the chapter organizer to us here at MultiGP, we love drone racing, and we want to see it take its rightful place as a legitimate motorsport. We've done a lot of work in the last 3 years. What we've done is absolutely amazing. I mean, we've basically taken a hobby and we've almost turned it into a legitimate sport. But we have a lot more work ahead of us, and it takes all of us working together. And this is something that I always say, if it wasn't for you guys, if it wasn't for the chapter organizers, if it wasn't for the pilots, there would be no MultiGP. So we want you guys to always remember that we are your biggest supporters. You guys are out there doing the hard work every single day and helping this grow into what we know it can be. So we value your feedback. We value your support. Anytime you guys have any questions, comments, and concerns, we have an open door here. We want to be the conduit. We want to make sure that drone racing is as successful as it possibly can be. That's going to take your help, and it's going to take your input. These sort of conversations with our Tier 1 chapters are absolutely crucial. Like I always say, you guys are our boots on the ground. We don't have carnal knowledge of every facet of North America. You guys do. When it comes to making these selections, you guys are the ones that help us out. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for every moment that you sacrifice, every second that you guys put into it. It is appreciated. And guys, again, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. So always remember that every single one of us is on the same side and we're all working towards the same thing. Guys, thank you all.
Good stuff. Well, I think with that, it's a pretty good wrap up. Want to say thank you. I was thinking in my head, I want to appreciate everyone. I want to say thanks to everyone for their participation here tonight. Again, the December one was a one-way street. This one is becoming more of a two-way street. And as we get into 2018, more events, more things coming up, more ideas, and we definitely want to keep that line of communication open as we continue growing this. It's going to be an exciting season. Over the next week, look for the big poll results and our next steps on that. You'll also be looking for some adjustments to our schedule that we showed you here tonight. And then hopefully a finalized version. I guess we're like 2-3 weeks away from finalized version of the regional series, the final document that'll be no more changes moving forward. Also, as we promised, there is a team working in the regional finals course design boardroom, and hopefully within the month that regional finals course will be out, and we can start moving on 2018. All of our different initiatives. Obviously, our team will be reaching out to some of those centralized locations and around there, so we can collaborate on making sure that each and every one of those 6 regional finals is what we all envision and want it to be. And that is, a major event, 100 pilots, getting closer to a national championship and marquee banner events. And we're really, once again, super excited. And I know for some, it's a long, drawn-out process, and we appreciate you guys just being here with us, not only hosting events throughout the year, but also this postseason work that we have done collaboratively on our Tier 1 calls to help us formulate the 2018 regional series. We're so close. I can't wait to once Hefty puts send on that final document. On behalf of our entire team, our executive team, again, we do want to thank you for being a part of this call here tonight. Our executive team, once again, see on our MultiGP News and other social media, Frank Manad and Kalara, also Reese, our EVP of video production, Daniel Gunnell, who wasn't with us here tonight, but one of the guys that you see keeping us out there on social media, and his team. Our new EVP of Strategic Partnerships, Kelvin Lamb, is excited to carry our sport forward and help grow with the work of our Tier 1 chapters as well. Myself, Joe Scully, the entire event production team, of course, Hefty Puente, who is our live stream producer, our Tier 1 chapter organizer. And our chief brand officer, of course, Sean O'Sullivan, who you heard tonight, who was our social media man, who's now our vice president of MultiGP, our president, David Roberts, who is going to be working with many of you on those schedule changes. And, of course, the guy that we heard from here tonight, our commissioner and founder, our CEO, Sir Christopher Thomas, my best friend, who is with us on the call tonight. Thanks each and every one of you for your passion, your vision, and helping us take your message forward. And we won't call ourselves a leadership, but we're carrying this torch forward. In 2018 is going to be our biggest year yet for the regional series. And thank you for being a part of MultiGP. We'll try and give you a little more notice for next month's call.
Joe, you almost forgot Shannon Broussard, the man behind the scene who keeps all of these chapters together. I mean,
oh my gosh, we do. He's so important. All the chapters they've gone through Shannon's like, okay, well now I'm tier 3. Now I'm tier 2. Like, oh, now I'm tier 1. Everybody knows and loves Shannon.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure you message him on Facebook.
He's watching this. He corrected me on my map and my geography.
Yeah, we got
I'm reading off the same list. I'm reading off the same list that we all faulted on. Of course, Shannon. And Shannon is your primary contact for all chapters on communicating with MultiGP. But any of us, all of our emails are our first name. You can reach out to us with any questions, concerns, or comments. And of course, through Shannon, who is one of our biggest backbones of MultiGP, as our EVP of Chapter Relations, Shannon at multigp.com, and on Facebook as well.
Thanks, Shannon. You rock, man.
Awesome, guys. Again, we'll give you a little more notice for next week's call. Best we can. Hopefully it'll be 2 days this time. But thanks for taking some time out of your time tonight. And again, looking forward to so much information the next couple of weeks. And 2018 with each and every one of you guys, our tier 1 and backbone MultiGP.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Who has more fun than us?
Nobody.
Yay!
I like your style.